Hello techies, I'm Divya here. On behalf of CyberBrainer, don't you think the world of tech is evolving faster than ever? Now is the perfect time to dive in and build the skills that will take you places. With CyberBrainer, we are putting you in the driver's seat of your own future. We at CyberBrainer don't just teach your interest. We believe that knowledge is power, but it's applied knowledge that truly sets you apart. Whether you're diving into data science, mastering artificial intelligence, or exploring the world of cybersecurity, our courses are designed to give you the skills that matter. So let's jump into the session and make the future yours today. Thank you.
A few important takeaways. One is about the choice router. Hope you understand about choice. Router is very simple router, right? Say that one more time. Choice router. It's called router because it routes the request to different paths, right? Based on the condition, it routes the request to different paths. That's right. We will configure one condition first path. If this satisfies, you see if ename name is there. This path will execute and it won't execute the rest of two paths. This will execute and move to the transfer message component, right? It has to be, as it should not be empty or no. Because we are passing emp name here from here, right? See this case, we are passing emp number. We are not passing emp name. This will be null. Emp name will be no, right? This condition not satisfies. First condition is not satisfied. Then it checks the second path condition. This path condition, right? Here emp now not equal to null. We are passing emp number. It is not equal to null. It is 860. It takes the second path. And next, it excludes the transfer message component. It won't exclude the default. If all the condition fails, if we are not passing the, for example, from the postman, we are not passing either emp number or emp name. Just, we are sending the request like this. In that case, what happened? What happened is it will take a default. Then you can equal to see something with some lock in the default path. That is called invalid option, right? This got printed over here. That is about the choice router. This is one of the important takeaway. Choice router routes the request based on the condition on the paths. Whatever condition satisfies, it routes to that path. I understand the choices. Can you click the choice icon? I want to see what you configure. Do you configure anything under here? The problem. Under? Nothing. No. Nothing. Only the path. The first choice, we're saying that if the attributes query parameter, employee name. If employee name is not empty, it's going to do that. It's going to do the select statement. And the second one is that if employee number may be, right? Now I got it. But you only transform in one and only one unit. I know this was just a practice, right? We just want to see. But that transform is only does, it only works on one group on the employee ID number. Do you see the transfer transform? It's only doing right now. One write is only tied to one right now. What is transform is doing just is it transforming the payload to the JSON format. On either condition, on either conditions, right? Either conditions. Both the condition or both. Now tell me one question I lost. Here, if we pass both, emp name is equal to sum and empn is equal to. I'm passing both examples. You won't. In that case, which route will get executed? The default one. It checked the first route. It is satisfied. Then it's done. It won't check the rest of the routes because we are passing employee name. Employee name is not equal to null. This path will get executed and go to the transform. It's not going all the way, just checking if the first condition is met. Then it will run. Even though the second condition also satisfies. In this case, we are passing employee number also, but it doesn't matter. It won't care that one. Only the first one. Makes sense. If this is not satisfied, then only go to the next path. That is in the choice router. And database select is one of the takeaway. We need to see how to configure the connectivity here. Right. While config connectivity, we need to configure the driver first. Then we need to view where this database is running, what database credentials, all the stuff. That's right. Next, we will configure the query part. You can configure the query part. If you are passing any parameters, we need to pass parameters like this. Employee name. This is any parameter, whether it's a URI or query parameter. It's similar, right? Similar configuration. This is not related to URI or query parameter. This is related to database query, database parameters. SQL query parameter. For SQL query, if you are passing any anywhere clause, then you need to configure like this. If there is no way, there's no other option. There is no like this. One is like under input parameters, you use inquiry parameter, but also you could have used it URI parameter. URI, whatever you want, you can map that one. That doesn't matter. But if you do in the select query, select statement, if you pass in a parameter, you have to decide in this way, employee name equal to then put a variable name or a colon variable name. This is called placeholder. 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 That placeholder we need to map in this section. Attributes that. It's right now like it could be like for example, like employee name. Colon attributes that I could use a URI parameter. Yes, you can. Absolutely. That email name. But on the post. But on the post or on a what do you call a postman? Then instead of saying equal to I use a and a crisis, right? To pass the URI from parameter. Correct? Got. Then what CY? Why this required? If we pass like this, what happens? V for employee name is equal to I'm passing like say. There is some employee called nameSci in the database. I want to know get if I you like this, what's happened? Is any wrong over here? Employee name, you will say. The challenge is, first of all, there is an Adam is employee there. If I give Adam, as you know, to find him to see details. What is the problem? The problem is the input parameter doesn't match. That is not the case. What happens is if you configure like this is hard-coded, right? Is always fetches Adam's details only. That's right. Here with dynamically we are passing the employee name. We are fetching that employee details right. That's right. It's dynamic. It's dynamic. If you do it, this becomes static fixed. Right? We won't, get that feature for that purpose. If you want your query to be dynamic, then we need to configure like this. Good. These two. And next example in database. All these database operators are self-explanatory. You can practice. I can give that one. Only one important thing is this one. On table. On table. This is a one important thing. This is different. On table row is like this. Let me explain little theory about on table row. You have a requirement like database. There is a table called employee table in your database. And there is one application, some HR application, some application. Whenever a new employee joined in the company, it is adding the record to this employee database. Then what happens is there is another application. It has to do some onboarding activities for employee. Whenever a new record added to this table, it has to pick that, that record, and it has to do onboarding process. Creating email or creating some things will be right when employee joins the company. This is different application, some onboarding application. In that case, this application is keep on listening. The database table. Right. Whenever it's checking if there's if it's new entry, right? If you have such requirement, this is on table row. On this table a new row adds, then this automatically triggers. For that purpose. See, I'm creating one simple. This on table row is an event source, is not an event listener. Sorry, event processor. It event source. We need to tell on which table it has to listen. I'm configuring the same database configuration. And if you configure the database, this the host name, all the things right. You can able to see all the tables on the database. See, here I have other comment country employee locations. These are some different tables are there. Those tables are there here. See in the mail support. There are these tables right. All the tables got loaded here. If you want to employ, you want to this employee table. Then you need to select which table you want to listen. I want to listen to employee table. And you have to select what is the frequency. It can check freaking. If you can tell I have this component has to listen the database for every 20 seconds. Scheduling frequency, for every 20 seconds it will go into the database for new tables. Sorry, new records. Let me configure a simple log row. We need to go over here to print the database records. We need not do anything. See this database, is printing all the records. See, grass is a good thing. Salary or employee number. Employee name, right? For another 20 seconds, it will print again. See if no. See the timestamp. It is about a C32. Earlier, it is that B towards the time. 30, 10, 10 after 30. How many seconds? Every 20 seconds. I think, right? 20 seconds. Tolikin. Right. See here, log stamp, timestamp, Adam. I don't know. And the purpose here is to read at the table for every 20 minutes or to check if there is a null. Excellent question, Adam. I like this. Whatever frequency you configure here, right, every 20 seconds you can go and check, fetch all the information in the database. But that is not an ideal case, right? People would want newly inserted records after that point. That's right. For that, you need to configure something like watermark. Watermark column. If you configure watermark column, what happens? First time it will print all the things. Next time onwards, it will take a timestamp. After that timestamp, newly added records only. It will return. I am counting the watermark column as employee number. We need to configure the primary key of the database. Here for watermark column. That's right, let me clear the console. First time it's gonna read, it's logged and it's logged. I cleared console and what I'm doing is I'm inserting a new record. This watermark column is not proper, man, because it's not an increment way. Actually, watermark column should do an increment, man. I give some highest number. Then if I see this record got returns, right? Only this record returns Adam Chicago location. And the next time onwards it won't return anything unless a new record got added with employee number greater than this employee number. Actually, our database column, it should be auto increment. It's not like that. But, and this is my mistake, I didn't make as an auto increment. Hope you got idea about the watermark. That's right, that's right, that's right. That's how it's supposed to. It knows right now where to start from next time exactly. That's nice. That's about on table row. I have a question then. How do you then? how do you configure it? And to say, how do you configure, like for example, like in that exactly that table, how can we say but somehow it's maybe this is not ideal table, right? Somehow it's still printing some words building. What is that? I see new line is written. Now all you note again. No, that's different. That's not an. You know what is this? This is a different statement. It's not in something like cell statement, you know. Alright if the card is only one time button. My question to you is that how do you club an? How do you, and I'm not configured, but how do you take the table row? Like for example, like in this flow, you have right the choice router and all that stuff, and but that might be different. I don't know. What I was thinking is that right now you only configure and you can do a flow by itself, right? That has this thing called on table row. Exactly, you could do something like this, saying on table row, and then create another flow, right? Another something like it turns like that, like transform that exactly. What I want to do is I will transform the new record and I want to store the record to file. I want to write the record to file. That's nice. A file, right? You need to give the path where you want to write in your machine in the path section, test folder. I want to return over here C drive test folder. C true : test folder employee.json. I want to write like this. Here I'm transforming to JSON because I want to write in JSON format, right? JSON. What you need to transform is you transfer the payload, because the thing you return is a payload, to the transform message component. Now I'm going to add one more record to the database. Night 9000. I'm adding the Smith record. Added this record, right? What happens if I add that record? After after 20 seconds, already it's got. Printed means yes, let me go back to my path. Here I got an employee JSON file. If you open that file, you can able to see the record. Let's open it. See, this is the record we added. Nice, you can send this record to GEMS Active Miku also as a message. You put a choice router, something like if they're satisfied, into GMMs or only based on some parameter. You can send to either GEMS or data. Sorry file based on some condition. Then you can publish it into an JXCMQ, and then maybe then in the real life create another application that consumes that and then outputs to another system exactly and the other application. We pick that from the gems and we get to write to the file, and it might be interest to some other database, some different database. Things will be there like that only in real time. This is really good. You get this from the new record from the database. You transform it, you can send it to a tool you use, right? And yes, and publish it, and must publish that message right there and in real life as you. As we said, then you can have another application that consumes that message and then transform it and writes to another database or another system. That's common practice, right? It's common practice. Only it transform to another database the format, the other database or the fields. It transfer that format and write to the database. It's a common use case, right? It's quite common. Nice. In the integration space, different applications will communicate to each other, right? One set of data need to move to the other application that may be, in different format in the other application. In different format in the other application that may be, I love to a lot. I wish I could do something like that. There's a lot of cases I have like this that I would love to practice with you while practicing. So cool. Alright, that's good. This is how we do in databases database. One more thing you need to understand is about this book statements. We need to practice one of the book component bold inside, right? This is one important component. Like see what happens is sometimes like the integration will get different. One second. We have insert component. It was an insert. Insert component. We can send a record to database to insert into a table. If you want, I can show you the insert statement also. Very simple insert query. Simple insert into. You have idea of a school query? Nope. I have a few of the inserts. If you save simple insert query, a new record, you can able to add a new record database using insert statement. That's right. What happens is you need to read some CSV file, and that file from a location where this file contains 100 employee parts, 1,000 employee parts. You may have your activities. You need to read that file, fetch all the employees from that file, transform that employees to the database format, and insert the database. That is your activity. Right, to insert the 1,000 employees, you need to contact the database 1,000 times. 1,000 insert statements. Write each insert. Insert the statement is a network call. Because in your machine it is database and application running on the same machine. That is not issue. But in real-time database might be running a different IP address, different host type. We are doing 1,000 network calls, and every time you need to connect to database and you need to insert. That consumes your network traffic and performance is also slow. It's not. Every time you are connecting to database means you are establishing a connection that is expensive. Node takes time and resources. The better idea is here using the bulk insert. What bulk insert will do is it creates all the insert statements, and you won't send until 1000 info statements create, and it will send all 1000 instead statements in one call. Database will read that all insert statements, and instead of database, in one call, I will send all the records. That is called bulk insert. Got it? This is when we are going to insert. Many records are huge number of records. We need to use the bulk inside. I haven't used it, but I'm thinking this is a good practice for like if you're creating like a first time, if you create a table first time, for example, write with a lot of record, right? If you have a lot of record and first you're creating table first time and first time and first time and first time and first time, and then you want to insert a lot of record, it's a good case, exactly, and a lot of records. This is to use the bulk insert. We should not use normal insert when there is situation. But if you're dealing with like after you create a lot of them and you're expecting, and some not many, then you know what's the what's the count of the records that's candidate for a bulk insert instead of a normal insert. You want higher limit, upper limit, what I'm thinking. And 20 record or 15 record to insert table. Do you go normal insert or do you go bulk inserts? I don't know. I'm just wondering what's the best practices for someone. I prefer bulk insert. If you're inserting more than 50 cars, more than 50, 50, 50, or more than 50, it's go for the bulk insert. Let me see the bulk insert one movement. 1, 1. Alright. 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 Adam, let me either. I read the documentation quite longer, let me. That's fine. That's fine. The best practice is always you need to read the news of signed documentation on the concept, whatever we discussed here. That's right. Because I may not cover the entire, scenarios or entire stuff. I got. Let me check. I'm going to go to the page. I'm going to go to the page. I'm going to go to the page and read this thing. Alright. Sounds good. That is about the book concept. And these 3 things you need to understand is normal. Select update, select insert, update, delete, desert normal queries. This is very simple. And other things like use on table is important because you want to fetch the records from database and you want to do operations. Then if you have idea of the store procedures anytime, read SQL scripts right on the database end. That's right. Those also we can able to execute using a stored procedure. Follow right. You have any SQL query. we need to just call the school, but that's it. The school query got executed. I think I'm familiar with the queries and the databases. That's about the database connectivity. Please practice. If you have any question, you can get back to me at any time. I will happy to support you. Definitely, thank you. Next topic I want to discuss today. Today we discussed basics of the gems, which is of gems, and earlier we in the starting of sessions we discussed about ATIP connector, right? ATIP request also discussed, right? We called some other data, some other school. Service ATIP OLL, and we covered the database. And I will send you the few documents to create an account in the Salesforce, and you create a code in Salesforce. I will discuss the Salesforce in the next section. Nice. That's this. A lot of people in MuleSoft, they use a Salesforce stuff. We can. I can create a something like for test stuff. Exactly, you can create in the cloud. You can create some records in the Salesforce, and you can fetch those records into your local, and you can do whatever you want. You can. Usually, there is a use case is very important. Use case is sales for two database bidirectional, synchronization. Wow, many companies want that one. Because the Salesforce in the cloud and the database in their on-prem system. Right, whenever a new record added to Salesforce and they want that regard to your local database. Sorry, that's right. And whenever new record added to database, they want to transfer that database record to Salesforce. We make these two systems in sync. That is a bidirectional. Bidirectional, that is useful. You can do to get idea about how to synchronize the Salesforce system in your local databases. I have a question. You saying that you can help me, or there's a way to have a like a data source force, like a test system or some Salesforce. Yes, that's nice. Yes, I share your document to create account in the Salesforce. Please create an account, and then I show you how to create an object in Salesforce, and that stuff you will discuss. Nice, this thing is done. And there are many characters are available based on our application requirement. We deal with those connectors like SAP Connect or Workaday, correct? But there are not. There is specific connectors. These are generic connectors. Now, one of the most important thing in the concept you need to learn is above error handling. Or error handling. Error handling, right? That's key. Why we required error handling? What is the importance of error handling? Do you know? The key thing is that you know if there's an error handling issue or there's a problem within. You know this application. You need to catch the error. You know the exceptions or the problems, and that you can. You can deal with it or manage the problems. Fantastic, excellent. If you don't have proper error handling strategy, you don't have any clue, and it is very hard to fix that. That's right. Problem. Right, that's right. We need to configure proper error handling means. For example, you develop an application as a mule. It will, connect to different systems like database, right? Database is not responding. Database is down right from the client. You got the record, and we need to insert that record to database, but database is not responding. Our client is expecting some information from the database. He has selected query, but we are not able to, response back to client because the database is not responding. Right then, what we need to do? First thing is we need to write a proper log statement to the our log files. That we come to know at this point. This is error. Because of that, we have not tried. We need. Whenever error occurs, we need to do proper logging in our log statement. Right? Alright. But Adam? There are two kinds of errors. Usually right one is the system errors and business errors. Have you no idea of system and business errors, Adam? System errors, I think something related to the system, whether it's like a network or database or connections or access, that kind of stuff. And then business. Business is like more like an application that you are dealing with right within the application. That's right. System is like when you connect to the any target system. If the issue that is for system error and business error, like when processing the message, you send some message. That message is not proper. Some mandatory information is missing in the message, and instead of number age, you send some string. Some information is not correct. You are not able to process that message because of the message is not proper. Those messages falls on the business error, right? How Mule manages this error handling is at 3 levels. First one is that application level, flow level and component level. Application level flow, level component level, right? If I global strategy for entire application. But supposing your Mule application you have 5 flows for 5 business operations. You define 5 flows. 5 flows wherever the error occurred. Irrespective of any flow, you want to handle error in a similar manner. For that, you define one global error handler. When error occurs, you navigate, we wrote that error to the global error handler, and this will handle the error. This is called application level error handling. You configure the error handling globally. You see, at flow level, also we have the error handling is. I think in first session we discussed flow contains 3 components. That moment I told that we discussed about that component later. Write to the source, the processor, even source and error handling. Write this section. While processing the message, if you get the error, it landed to the error handler section. Right then, what activity we do instead of error handling? If error occurred, we need to do some activity, right? We can log the message to log file that message is available in the production logs. We can able to troubleshoot easily, right? And we can send some notification emails to some teams. We got some error because of this. You know your processing is maybe delayed or if you get any error from the database, we can send the email to database support team. Hey guys, this is not responding to. Please check something like that. Nice, right? We can send notifications. We can send, proper logging, right? Those activities we can perform inside the error handling got it, right? Or else, if you don't want to send some, the technical stuff back to client, you want to send some meaningful message, you can configure that message over here. You can send that message to the client that the client can able to understand, write the message, rather than showing him some technical trace that he is not able to understand the technical stress. Right, those things you can do inside the error handling, alright. One thing application level is you can't hear on global error handler there, you managing errors, right? That is the global handler. Flow level means you define error handling inside the flow. You would manage. You define the handlings part inside the flow. And there is one more component. Level means for each component. What I can do is in the flow. For example, this is the flow. I can wrap the component inside something called triscope. The scope is available triscope. I can wrap the component inside the triscope, and the triscope has the error handling section. The triscope, what's called triscope? Try, triscope, oh try school try. There's a try. You can wrap the component or components inside the track. Try. If the error occurs while processing that component, first it lands into the triscope error handler. When you say any component, give me example like what? What database? Select maybe the database select or GMS, publish a transfer message component. All these are components only. Transforming message inside the flow. That's components is. I just wanna go. I understand the connectors could be a component, right? And but is the component? Here means the icons or even processors, not even business, even processors. Any icons like, for example, transformer or even the logger or anything that you drag inside the pro in even processor. That's what component is correct. Right? See the scope. What I can do is I can put try over here and I can add the triscope. Now this is right. Alright, has every handle right. I used the try in PowerShell. If you have Java guy, you might have. Instead, they're trying Java programming. Usually I use this. There's try catch. Call something about try catch in PowerShell in Empower. Power. Basically, before I execute anything, I use a try and catch. Fantastic. Let me exclude one simple example that we get clear some idea on that. First, I will discuss about I. Let's start with a very simple error handling example. What I'll do is, or try to do single method. I'm configuring the listener, the default code. Here, what I'm doing is I'm trying to read a file. There is a file read component. You can read a file actually using this file, read component. I want to read the file, the one I created just now, the employee JSON file. There is employee JSON file in this ctest path. I want to read that file. I'm going to read the file. I'm going to read the file. But we given name. My intention is to read the employee JSON, but I missed the over here. I know there is some. By mistake, I given employee. I misspelled. I'm trying to read the file that is not existing in that path. Right? I'm trying to read the file, but that file is not existing. To handle that error, the section is called error handling section. Here I can tell you we discuss about on error continue and on error propagate. Just as of now, there is one box in here. Right. Now we need to tell what kind of error you want to handle. Maybe in your flow you are doing different kind of things, like you are talking to databases, publishing databases, JMS queues. You are inserting in Salesforce and doing some transformations. You are doing, many activities. But when the error occurs, error might occur in any case, right? Maybe error may occur while you are inserting Rika to database, or error may occur while publishing the information to JMS queue. Error may occur while you are trying to communicate with the Salesforce. The number of chances are there, right? Then how you handle that error means which error you want to handle. You want to handle database error, you want to handle file error, you want to handle JMN's error, whatever you want to handle, right? That type, I need to view over here. If I click on the magnifying glass, it tells file illegal path. Because I am doing only file operation, I am able to see the file related errors. If I add database override, but suppose select it. Then if you see the type over here, it contains DB connectivity. Nice. That is a syntax based on the activities you are performing on the flow. Component error. Each component, it has error handling and solution. If you want to handle error while reading the file, then you need to select file illegal path or file related file. Maybe access denied, that error right. I am doing file illegal path. I have a question. Those options right. Error type options. I know might be I care about 2 or 3, but if you know if all these conditions can happen, right? Connectivity and for example like access denied and file lock in legal path. There's some of them. There's some of them that could potentially happen, right? What's the solution for that? Create that exception all the time, everyone. One thing is you want, manage the error in a very specific manner or in a generic manner. You want to handle error in a specific manner means very. If you given file illegal path, then you need to configure this error. And you need to define one more box on error continue. And for this box can handle the file lock or file connectivity, file access. You need to define multiple left. You have to call it for calls for handling each kind of error. Or is what do you want is I don't want all these, multiple error handles. I want to handle all errors in a generic manner. That makes sense. In that case, you need to define the as any or without giving any also any means it will handle any kind of error. Whether it is database, whether it is, a file, access in any kind of error, it will handle right. And that's error for all the component or per component or the components. Is any hand, is all the component errors. Then why we go for a, what is a design notice? You define only any. Why we need to define the specific error, handle specific codes? Because we can, the scope of the error message is based on that specific alert. It's like, the ones we're expecting and also the ones that we want to. That critical might be critical to the business, critical to the application to function. But the problem is that some applications have many components and many different errors can happen. And sometimes to create each error and a box is, it will become like too many. There is some requirement, Atom. You need to handle the file-related errors in a different manner. And you want to handle the database in different manner. First, of course, that is requirement. What I'm doing is this one, I'm changing to the database connectivity DBA skill C. That was, of course. See the first part, the first error, if any file illegal part means you're reading a file, but you're given the wrong part. If that error occurs, you want to send the email notification to some network team or something, developer team, something. And you want to manage this error in a different manner. You define dedicated, you know scope for that. If database error occur, you want to send a mail to database team. For you dedicated scope for this. You means you are handling two errors differently, right? That is advantage. If you put any right, all errors occur in the same manner, means all errors are managed in the same manner. You are missing the opportunity to handle in a specific way, right? What is the best practice is you would define these specific boxes at the end. We will define an any block means, known as it satisfies. This will manage that error. Got it. Now what is the error actually? That thing you understand. Before the headlining, what is error? Error means some situation, right? Error you understand. Basically everybody know. Error is a problem, right? Here the MuleSoft error is two sections. One is namespace. And second is identifier. Error composed of two sections. We will define error in two sections. Namespace means it's related to which namespace, like it's database or file, or FTP or Salesforce, right? That is called namespace. First of all, database DB is the namespace. Inside DB, you may have different kinds of error, right? You may given the wrong SQL, because of that error is coming. That is a Bascular syntax. Barascul syntax. Maybe chance SQL is good, but you are given the wrong password to connect to database. Then DB connectivity error, right? That is, you are not able to come to database because of the credentials are wrong. Right? The identifier defines due to which reason or which error you want to not able to come database or inside this namespace. The file is a namespace. And you get file error because you are trying to read a file, trying to write a file. That is something like read-only files. Right. You are saying that the database file and whatever that component is the namespace. And whatever that's happening, whether it's connectivity or the file path or access, is identifier. If you see the error right, error type right. If you see anything, it's composed of C database is bad, SQL syntax database for the execution. This database DB is the identify namespace. And the SQL about syntax is identifier. Anything before the column is a namespace. After that, it's identifier. To handle this error, we need to define a scope. This is a scope. If I am seeing this on error, continue. This is scope. That scope we defined to handle that error. Now I recommend today you go to this part in the use of standard documentation. For assignment robots, taking code, and that's the scenario, getting time for the application. I saw. I'll bring you that where you can see all the errors, actually the error hierarchy. I'll explain one simple example line. What I'm doing is, let's set. What's the log? I want to write some log statement. If the file path not exists in the set failure, please verify. Here, what I'm doing is I'm reading these. I'll link. And it's for 1 second. I know it's usually very fast, but network issue. It deployed. Now I'm trying to read the file. What path I've given over here? Let me see the path. It was a slash. What was it? Only that didn't do anything. I'm getting message like, please verify the file name. Because that was quick. This is what a message we set over here in the set payload that is returning to the client. Please do like, share and subscribe to our channel.